Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Spotlight on History. I'm Helen Dellinger, Curator of the Manassas Museum System, and it's my pleasure to speak to you today from inside the Historic Southern Railway Depot in downtown Manassas. So if you're joining us again or you're a first-time watcher, I'm glad that you're with us here today. So again, I have my special train-themed t-shirt that I got at Echoes that says Loco for Locos on it. This, along with any other types of t-shirts and other things that we have, are available for purchase, even though we are still close to the public. So if you're interested in this shirt or anything else that we have, just hop online and place your order, and shipping is free. Now, if you live in the city of Manassas, we will bring it to you for free, but you have to live actually in the city. So check that out and see what we have going on there. Lots of cool stuff available at Echoes. Now, last week's episode was about trains, and we're going to continue that discussion today. Now, today's topic is also a nod to the annual Railroad Festival, which would be held this coming weekend, which unfortunately has been canceled due to COVID. So we wanted to go ahead and continue the train discussion because of the Railway Festival and give a little nod to that. Last week at the museum, we looked at a few of the objects that are on display over there, namely the large train bell that we have, as well as a few things that I pulled from off-site storage that are not normally on exhibit. But today, I wanted to share with you some of the finer train-related pieces that we have in our collection that are actually on exhibit here in this building. Now, speaking of this building, I want to put this in context for you. If you're familiar at all with downtown Manassas, you should know where the depot is. We're located directly across the street from the museum, obviously right on the railroad tracks. And if you're familiar with the building, I think that's great. But did you know that this building is over 100 years old? How many people actually knew that? That's right. It was constructed in 1914, and this is the third depot to service Manassas. Now, the other two depot buildings are no longer standing. The first one was a very small frame building, wooden building that was built just to the east of this current building, and it fit the needs of the town at that time perfectly. Just a small little station. But as Manassas got bigger and the community grew, they outgrew their depot, and so they built a larger one right here on this location. And that serviced the community for about 10 years, and then a fire broke out one day in the baggage room, and that building unfortunately caught on fire and was largely destroyed. So the town came together, and within a matter of months, I think the fire was in June of 1914, and this building opened up in the fall of that year. So they got a new building built, and it remains largely the same in appearance today as it did back then. If a resident from Manassas that was alive in 1914 were to reappear today outside this depot, they would recognize the building for what it looks like. Now, the space that I'm standing in here, it's a little bit echoey, I know, was the waiting room at that time for African Americans. It's the smallest room inside the depot building. Now, at the time the station was built, rail service, like all other things in this country, was segregated by race. So African Americans would wait for the train here. This room is much smaller than the waiting room for whites, which is to my right. That room is currently closed right now for COVID, but you might be able to see through the little window there. That space over there did have restrooms, unlike this space. The Ticketmaster's office was located behind me in what is today the Visitor Center and the offices for HMI. So if you've ever been in the Visitor Center, that was the Ticketmaster's office. And then the baggage room and storage room was beyond that. So that's kind of a little bit about this building. A lot of people don't realize the history of this. They don't realize that it's always been a functioning depot and that it's been around for that long. Now, this building is still an active train station servicing commuters and travelers through Amtrak and VRE. Norfolk Southern freight trains still pass through town on a daily basis, but they don't stop here like they used to do when it was just Southern. Because it's still an active train station, and because of its importance to Manassas, museum staff, way before me, many years ago, installed the exhibit that's in this room. And we updated it in 2014 in honor of the building's 100th anniversary and gave it a name called On the Tracks of History. And this contains, I would say, our finer pieces of railroad history that are in our collection. And I'm going to share just a few of those with you today. So I want to start right now, and I'm going to slide across the front of the camera, with this great big set of wheels right here behind me. By far the heaviest and largest object in our collection. They date to about 1861 to 1865. Now, these wheels were found near the Bull Run Bridge, the bridge made famous during the American Civil War. And they came off of a train, obviously, from that time period. Now, while they're, commonplace wheels, I don't think you could find too many of them today, but there's nothing really remarkable about them. What is remarkable about these wheels, and my fabulous camera person, Lisa, is panning over them, and when she's done with that, I'm going to have her do a close-up of this picture. We found a picture in the Library of Congress that shows the bridge after it was being rebuilt by Union troops. And here is a set of train wheels. And so some gentlemen, obviously in modern times, in the 1980s, I believe, went looking there and found the train wheels in this exact location as it relates to the bridge. So we are fairly confident that the wheels that are on exhibit are the wheels that appear in this picture taken in the 1860s here at the Bull Run Bridge. So that's just, in my mind, a great backstory. I don't know any reason why that wouldn't be true. And they're just a really neat piece of local train history. Now, train stuff, depending on the railroad line that you're talking about, can be kind of hard to come by. And I'm not a collector, but I think that the stuff that's just marked Southern, not necessarily Norfolk Southern, but the Southern Rail Line, which was what was here in 1914, can be a little bit hard to come by, especially original pieces. So we're going to pivot and we're going to go over here to this case. Lisa's doing a great job with the camera work. And in this case is a small wooden stool, and this is one of my personal favorites in our railroad collection. Now you can see right on the front, stenciled on there, here comes a train. All right, we're just gonna let Lisa show the thing, and I'm not gonna try and shout. All right, that's a freight train, folks, going by, Norfolk Southern. Like I just said, freight comes through here on a regular basis, but it doesn't stop. It's a big train today. Perfect timing for our spotlight on history. This is a sound that, the sound of the train wheels and the train itself is something that's intimately familiar to people that have lived here all their lives. And it's a sound that means the economy in Manassas. It sounds like money, what some people might say, because this is how the town grew up, around freight trains just like this. They were very, very important. We continue to go by. For those of you that are train enthusiasts, that's always a special thing. People never get tired of seeing that. So anyway, back to our case here. So this is a Southern Railway step stool. So what these stools were used for was to help people get from the platform onto the train, or from the train back down to the platform. It has a little hole in the top, it's where you can put your hand in there to pick it up, and the train conductor or whoever was working on the train would keep these on the cars. So if any of you have ever ridden a train, you'll know it's a little bit of a step to get up onto those things, and so that's what they would have used. Now, we still use these today, but the railroad lines generally, in my impression of it, and the little bit of train travel that I've done, do not have anything that's marked for the line. They use something that looks like this. This is just a yellow stool, a metal stool. They're all generic. I'm sure they order these from some company, and this is what the trains use these types of things today. Not marked with anybody's name, and so that's why this is kind of neat. Railroads would do that. That was kind of a little advertisement for the Southern. Also in this case, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, is this Southern conductor's cap. So this cap is an original cap used by a man that would have been working on the Southern Railway, and the badge on the front indicated that he was the conductor. It's in beautiful shape, mint condition. So we're very pleased to be able to have this in our collection. We do not, unfortunately, have the rest of the uniform, just the cap. So you can kind of see below it, there's another badge that's silver in color, and that one, if you can make it out, says Southern Baggage Master. So what I'm told that they would do is, the caps were all the same. They would just switch out the badges on the front. So you would get a cap that would fit, and depending on what job you were doing, your badge would indicate that. So people would know, there's the baggage master, there's the conductor, there's whoever it is that they were trying to work with. We also have numerous buttons in our collection, a lot of them marked with Southern or SR for Southern Railway. We have a very extensive collection. Buttons are a little bit easier to find than some other things marked Southern because there's so many of them. A typical jacket or shirt would have, several buttons on the front, buttons on the sleeves. So you have more of those kicking around out there than you do anything else. So that while they're collectible, they're easier to find. And those are just 5 examples that were in our collection. We have many, many more in off-site storage, so they're kind of neat. All right, so we're going to move along to some objects that we displayed on the wall in here. We'll give Lisa a chance to pivot. So up here, we have, in this first case, you'll see a silver train lantern. I'm sure train lanterns are very commonplace. You see them all over the place. What makes this one special, and I know that it's really going to be difficult to see this from at home, this train lantern has its original glass globe and it's marked with the Southern Railway name. So that's what makes this particular lantern so special. Glass pieces like that are easily broken, and oftentimes they would just be replaced with a clear glass globe with no name. So it's very difficult to assign it to any particular train line. But this one still has the Southern Globe name on the Southern name on the globe. So that's kind of neat. Globes, there's a whole other discussion about those. The globes came in different colors. I've seen blue, yellow, red, and clear. Depending on the color and the manner in which the lantern was moved about, was sent signals to the engineers on the train. That's a whole complicated discussion for another presentation, but that's a great piece in our collection that we're very excited to own. On the wall to the right of that is a piece that some people are like, what's wrong with that? Lisa, if you need to step up there. That's how that piece came to us. This is how we often get pieces that are in kind of rough shape. This is a schedule board that was found in an antique store over in Harrisonburg, Virginia. So you can see on it that the train, the Southern Railway train, was coming from Manassas to Harrisonburg and then back from Harrisonburg to Manassas. So we believe that this hung in the railway depot in Harrisonburg since it was found over there, and it wasn't found here. So trains would leave from Manassas carrying goods that were made here, dairy products, whatever it is that people were shipping, and they would ship them to markets west of here in the Shenandoah Valley, and then they would load up with products in the valley that were not available here and come back here to Manassas. So it was freight trains like this that earned Manassas the nickname of Railroad Town. So Railroad Town is still kind of true today, as we just saw by a train coming by, and that's kind of a neat little nickname that a lot of local people will be familiar with. So if you ever hear that and you wonder why, that's why. Now, there's some other signs and things down there. All of this is Southern Railway stuff. Everything you see in here, when you visit this gallery, is Southern Railway related, or a few things Norfolk Southern, but mostly the Southern Railway, since that was the earliest station. Okay, so these, as I say every week, these talks are meant to be short, so we're going to finish up with this very large semaphore that's over here on the wall, hanging suspended from the ceiling. So a semaphore is a piece of signaling equipment. This would have been outside. Trains still use semaphores today, but they look different. They're all electronic. The position of the semaphore in relationship to the track meant something, as well as whatever color is lit up. So here we have red, yellow, and blue, which is more of a greenish color when it's actually lit. And this is used to send information about track conditions to the train's engineer. So it's very similar to a stoplight. Red means stop, yellow means caution, and the blue or green color meant that you could proceed. So again, train signaling is a whole great big long discussion that I will admit I'm not completely clear on, but it's very interesting to read about. So these pieces that I've shown you today are just a very few of the cool objects that we have over here. A lot of things to see. This display, again, on the tracks of history in the James and Marion Payne Railroad Heritage Gallery inside the depot, is free and open to the public. during the normal business hours of the Manassas Visitor Center. So when the Visitor Center is open, the train depot is open with our exhibit. So please stop by any time that you're downtown when the Visitor Center is open to see all the fun pieces on exhibit. And while you're here, I encourage you to take a walk around the outside of the station itself. The architecture of this building is fantastic. It again looks almost exactly like it did in 1914, and you can really see a cool piece of local history both inside and outside. And if you're lucky, maybe a train will come by while you're here, like we got to see today. I don't ever consider that an interruption. I just consider that a neat thing to have happen. So I hope that you'll join us next Wednesday for our next Spotlight on History. I'm going to next Wednesday be talking about flags because June 14th coming up is Flag Day, and flags have a lot of very interesting information about them. And it's not just going to be the American flag, there'll be some other flags that we present. And we're hoping to be broadcasting from a special location, but I'm not going to reveal that here. If you want to see where we're going to be next week, as soon as we get permission, then you'll have to tune in to find out. And again, that's next Wednesday at noon. As always, I'm open to suggestions about topics that you would like to hear about or specific pieces in our collection. If you want to hear about those, just let me know and I'll in our comment section, and I'll do our best to fulfill all your requests. I'm Helen Dellinger, and this has been Spotlight on History. I'll see you next week.